Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of One of Each. I'm your host for this evening, John Shin, and from wherever you guys are tuning in from across the world, I hope you guys are well. So I initially had this intro bit already recorded, edited, and ready to go, but I decided to record a brand new one because I wanted this episode to sit a little bit more chronologically in place with respect to what's going on with my life right now. And that might depreciate the shelf life of a podcast or a storytelling episode because I put a real life timestamp event on it, whatever. And while every single click, like, engagement means so much to me, I wanted to express my gratitude to this guest so much more. So allow me to explain to you guys what's been going on. I wrapped up 2023 in the best way possible, with all of the love and support that I've received, first and foremost from you guys, the Immaculate Collective, and of course, the love and support from my loved ones, including my fellow content creator friends or colleagues. All of that great immaculate vibe that I collected in 2023, I was ready to just shower myself in that and push on to 2024 because I truly felt like 2024 was going to be the year for me. And maybe, who knows, it still could be, but it certainly didn't feel that way recently. And it, quite honestly, doesn't feel that way now. But I've come to terms to accept the truth, and that's fine. But 2024 started off in the worst way possible because my TikTok account has been permanently banned and deleted. I won't go into the specifics or the details because I don't want to bore you, but basically the Premier League and the TikTok admin lords, if you will, the powers that be, they felt like a 4-second GIF of Alejandro Garnacho celebrating was unacceptable. And they felt like, that's it. I've seen you. That's it. And they decided to permanently ban it. And even though I appealed it and said that, look, it was a GIF and it was just pretty much a compilation of frames, they didn't buy it. And I am not somebody that likes to put blame on others. I think that's actually very cowardly, and I don't like running away from my responsibility. And at the end of the day, the truth is it was my fault. Whether it was harsh or not, it was my burden to bear and my truth to accept. And it was tough because I feel like for the longest time, everything just has been piling up on me in the past few years, and it's just been really tough. As a middle-aged man trying to push on life with the pressures of society, the pressures from your family, the pressures from your friends, all of the pressures of life, I just felt like the only thing that was really carrying me forward were the new friends that I've met and made in this football space, and of course you guys. And losing my TikTok account, which was very close to reaching 50,000 of you Immaculate Collective, it shattered me. It completely floored me. For the first time, I was so stunned, I didn't know how to react. I woke up just feeling completely just blank, and I usually also am the type to just sort of like brush it off and just keep soldiering on. It might be because of the immigrant hustle and bustle lifestyle that I've always lived. I don't know what it is, but I've never really been one to just sit there and sulk about a specific moment. But this one really hurt. For somebody like me and my age and at the moment in my life that I'm at, as weird as it might sound to my fellow age group folks or my friends in particular who aren't into this media space, to me, losing a valuable asset or a valuable community, a valuable social media account in TikTok was it was devastating. The entire amalgamation of everything that I've done leading up to this point, for it to just completely disappear in a blink of an eye, it was a low. But when I shared this news of this tragedy for me, one of the first people that reached out to me was none other than the guest for tonight's episode. It was Leo. And Leo is somebody that I met not too long ago. Leo is somebody that reached out to me because he really enjoyed my content and he loved my energy and he shared this emotion with me. And somebody like Leo, who is the owner and operator of an account worth millions and just an incredible content creator, for him to reach out to me and not just say, dude, I like your content, but also to say that I really resonate with your energy and your positivity. It meant so much to me. And after having spoken to him and after having, had lots of conversations back and forth since in this short, brief moment, I realized right away how similar we are in terms of our goals and our passions, irrespective of the football clubs that we support. And when this whole TikTok chaos happened, Leo was one of the first people to reach out to me. And he showed me the love and support that I didn't know I needed until until it happened, and all the messages started flooding in. It meant so much to me. Somebody who's been in this content space for a while now, feeling so lonely, feeling so isolated. For me to receive that message from Leo, it was incredible. It felt so assuring. It felt like everything was going to be good again. And it wasn't just Leo, it was everybody. It was every single content creator friend that I had. So I just wanted to thank all of my content creator friends, first and foremost, but also you guys, the Immaculate Collective, for sending me all the warm love the messages of love and support. And of course, last but not least, I wanted to send another thank you to Leo, because he was one of the first people to reach out, and his message felt so real and so passionate. So I just wanted to thank Leo once again. This is a little bit of an unorthodox way to introduce the guest, but yes, the guest is Leo. He is the owner-operator of the famous Instagram page, Liverpool Goals, and he is also running and maintaining his own personal Liverpool fan account channel called Leo's Goals. I'll leave all of that in the links to the description if you guys are interested. And one thing I did want to add is that you guys will see lots of non-Manchester United fans on the channel, because you guys know that for me, it's all about communication and connection and interaction with people from all parts of walks of life. And that includes football clubs. Leo is a Liverpool fan, but for me, I think Leo is probably one of the closest that I can relate to as a fan. He's incredible, and he's passionate, and he's filled with love and good energy. So if you guys are interested in listening to anything about what Leo has to share with me today, which I highly advise you do so, because I think this episode is great. This episode was recorded prior to 2024, so it was right before all of this absolutely went down on a madness. Anyways, let me stop blabbering. Enjoy today's episode, guys, and of course, be happy, be healthy, take care of your loved ones. And without further ado, here's Leo. Thank you so much for joining me. I can't even tell you how grateful I am. As somebody that's been a content creator in this space for a long time, but to see your success and for you to be sort of honoring me with your presence, I really, truly am grateful. Thank you.
No, and it's such an honor to be on your channel as well. I was watching your lives and just the content you put all over, and it's one of those things, and this is how I think the football space should be in general. It's no matter who you support, you bring out that energy, and with you, you can really sense your energy on the other side, which is beautiful.
I mean, let's kick things off right away with sort of the first, I guess, work that we did together. You figured out a way to get me on a Manchester City supporters channel,
Exactly.
and we did a combined 11 of Manchester United versus Liverpool.
That's
How
fun.
could you do that to me?
Yeah, yeah,
How do I pick any Man United players?
I know. No, but there's a lot of quality in that side. There is a lot of quality. It's just like it's a difficult time all over for United. So it's not
Absolutely.
just about, it's a team, it's a bigger issue than the individuals, you know.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So just a quick, I guess, maybe a opportunity for us to lay down the foundation here for people that might be watching that might really not know what you're about. Can you just give us a quick introduction?
Yeah, so I really started about 10 years ago creating content online, 10, 12 years ago. And that was just on Instagram where I was putting out Liverpool things on Liverpool goals. And then eventually it just kept growing and I kept meeting people through that. And I saw the beauty of it where now kind of anywhere you go in the world, you can meet fellow Reds or fellow football fans and connect. But I only really started going all into the YouTube channel about a year ago because I met some others in Fiago. I don't know if you know Fiago and John Nellis. They're awesome, awesome football content creators too. And I just saw them and met them personally and saw how it wasn't all about ego and it wasn't about putting their face and trying to be famous, all that stuff, which was my worry about putting a face to it. I was always worried where it was like it just means that you're trying to get this fame or you're trying to, get followers or all these things. But I saw in them that they see a bigger picture, which is not about you. Sure, your name is there, but you're trying to tell stories and you're trying to connect people. And there's something bigger there than just saying, oh, look at me. And so I remember when I met them, that was earlier. We went to a game at Anfield, Liverpool Arsenal.
Mhm.
And I was like, damn, okay, so you can do something like that and still keep yourself in check all the time. You know what I mean? And
Yeah, yeah.
and so that was the moment I think where I was like, I'm gonna go all into this type of deal.
Love that. Okay. Well, obviously, if you guys are watching at home, you're like, okay, I'm starting to understand what he does and who he supports. That's right. He's a Liverpool supporter,
Yeah,
and he's got a shirt behind him that's a Liverpool shirt, and I
yeah,
got a shirt behind me that's a Man United shirt. So this
exactly.
is a Man United fan and a Liverpool fan chatting, and it's
Yes,
okay to do that. We're gonna
exactly.
normalize these things. So
Exactly.
strap
And my
yourselves
best
in.
friend growing up in Iceland, I
Mhm.
mean, still a very good friend of mine. Like he's a United fan, from Iceland. So we would always like banter both sides. But I think that's also the beauty of it. Is just like I love watching games with also rival fans and just like seeing the different takes, and it's fun.
You spoke about growing up. So without further ado, let's just get straight into it with the first image for today. Break it down. Talk to me here.
That brings back the best memories where basically so these both of these pictures were taken in Iceland, and that's where I grew up. That's where
Awesome.
this little shirt that I want to show you guys too. Tiny little shirt, as you can see.
Oh, that's
This
awesome.
this is my first ever Liverpool shirt, but it really like what's incredible about Iceland is that it's a country where people live, breathe, sleep football. Like you don't see
Wow.
girl or boy that doesn't play for their local team. It just doesn't exist. And there's a
Mm.
pitch in every neighborhood. And so when you're there, it's just like that's how you meet people. That's how you get together. And you just it's so important to stay active too because it gets cold. But yeah, that's really where the passion like started and grew, and that's with my friend Pablo, who was my childhood friend who loves football as well. And yeah, this is just like where I saw the power of it because I originally grew up in France. And so when I moved to Iceland, I really was like an outsider. I was an outcast. Like I just didn't look like anybody. Everybody was
Oh,
just
okay.
blonde with blue eyes. And so I remember arriving in the class and I was just so scared because I was like, nobody, like people will think I'm just different and I'm never going to fit in, you know?
Right.
And
Right.
and that's how it felt for a while. And then once I got to know the beautiful game, that's when I got to make those connections, and that's when we were able to break those walls and come together.
Mhm.
And that's why it's since then become such a strong part of my life because I've since moved and I lived in New York too for 10 years. So I know
Wow,
your
really?
city. Yeah, I know your city really well. And Pier 40 was like my home. Pier 40, I would be there 4 or 5 days a week playing pickup. And it's just like that anywhere I go now, that's kind of like I just find a pitch, I talk to people, meet people, and it's just like I think there's nothing quite like it, this
That is
beautiful game.
absolutely insane. You were you were born in France,
Yeah, born in Paris. And
lived in Iceland, and
yeah,
lived in New York.
yeah.
So
So
the
very
is
different places.
what city in Iceland? Is it Reykjavik?
Reykjavik, exactly, the capital.
Awesome. And
Yeah.
you're there now.
I'm there now. Yeah.
Awesome, awesome. Okay,
Back
so
home.
I wanted to so the thing that I really wanted to sort of break down is with respect to your childhood, and you sort of carried us there perfectly, talking about football being used as the sort of the
Medium.
icebreaker. Yeah, the
Yeah,
medium,
exactly.
exactly.
Yeah.
For me, that was basketball. Coming to
Oh,
New York was everybody was obsessed about basketball. So
yeah.
I'd come to class and I didn't. At first I didn't know a lick of English, but over the
Yeah.
years growing up and whatnot,
Wait, when
getting
did you move? When did you move over?
I was in third grade, third
Okay.
year. So
Okay.
I
Yeah.
I thankfully I picked up English relatively quickly, but the thing that really helped me to sort of catapult myself amongst a group of friends was actually basketball.
Basketball. Wow.
And I think soccer became that for me in college. That was
Okay.
because I grew up only playing American football, basketball, and all these other sports besides
Yeah.
soccer because soccer wasn't relatively that known here.
Mm.
Well, I mean, it was known, but it wasn't really played amongst the
Popular.
neighborhood crowds. Right,
Yeah.
exactly. Although I used to watch it And then in college, it got really intense for me because every single friend that came to college, they were all, supporting one club, playing footy,
Oh,
doing all this. So it
that's
was a lot
nice.
more later down the years for me. But I
Yeah.
wanted to ask you, like, do you think, and this might be a bit of intense, but do you think that maybe in particular with respect to youth football, do you think maybe schools and education systems and communities should be doing more? And I feel more relevant asking you this because if you lived in New
Mm,
York City, you can clearly see that footy is nowhere near as relevant as it should be.
exactly. Exactly. No, and that's the thing. What I love about Europe is the fact that you can join these local teams and it doesn't cost. And I do have to say,
Yes.
the big shock when I came to the US was seeing the prices of joining these clubs. And it's just like so crazy how it's privatized and pay to play. And when you see the impact it can have on kids, it's like this is absolutely something that should be funded by the state, country, whatever, whatever system you're in. But yeah, I did see those some, like, I interned at NYCFC actually when I was there, and they have
Awesome.
incredible community programs. I was in the community part of the club, and they run like Friday Night Lights. They run these programs, and I got to see the impact it has on kids. And that's again why I feel so passionate about not just football but sports. It's the fact that it's such an incredible medium to bring kids together, to then do a whole lot of other things. We don't only have to play football. We can then like make it fun in a way where now that we're gathered together, we can do other things. Like there in this NYCFC program, they were also helping them with homework, tutoring in the same place where you play football. So you can break those boundaries and go beyond. And that's definitely something where I don't understand the US, but to be fair, everything seems to be privatized there. Like even healthcare, like there's so many things where I do have to say that's probably the reason I ended up leaving, is because just like as a system for all. And sorry, the US is special for many reasons. I agree, but still this thing of like not being able to support everyone, I think is kind of crazy as a
Yeah.
system, and everyone having to just like fight for themselves.
I wanted to sort of try and pivot my focus now. I mean, going into 2024, I really want to
Yeah.
talk a little bit more, especially amongst my own community here, about
Mm,
trying to figure out more ways to help grow football because I'm such a massive believer that New York City in
mm,
particular
yeah,
can do more to provide easier accessibility. You mentioned privatization, like it's insane the cost to be able to join a club and to be able to play. I mean, just to kick a ball here. Um, if some private team doesn't have it freaking booked the entire pitch, like the
exactly.
entire day, like it's impossible to play. So for young kids, one who just want to kick ball, like unless your parents are paying for this, inordinate prices for these clubs, like
Exactly.
you're not going to be able to play. During your young childhood days, what would you sort of describe yourself as? Like, were you a little bit of the naughty kid? Were you a little bit of the more quieter kid?
Yeah, so I was a real introvert, like
I
because I had moved quite a few times. Like then, when I was 10, I moved to New York, so I was quite young. I basically really felt like quite an outsider. So I always kept to myself, barely said anything. I was just very shy. But that's again why football for me has become the most powerful thing in life, because it's always given me that confidence. And when I would go onto the pitch, again, you don't really need to talk. You don't need to talk the same language. Like all of those barriers are broken down and you just are free. And because I would have quite a lot of anxiety too as a kid, like it was so important where when I would get on that pitch, it could be like that's just a grass in a garden what you see in the picture here. But again, when you're a kid or later in life too, it doesn't matter where you're playing, what you're playing with. It could be anything. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
you could play with plastic bottles all the time. But the fact that you just forget about being in your head, because I'm someone that has always been very much in my head, overthinker, all that stuff. And except when you're on that pitch, like I would go to Pure 40, I would spend 5, 6 hours straight, and I would not notice a moment go by because I was just so present in the play that all of the stresses and anxiety that I felt, just that probably were developed in childhood, are gone. And that's why it's like a medicine, that on top of that brings community, which is so important.
Let's move on to the second photo. Here we are.
Yeah.
So I think this is an appropriate photo because this obviously looks like it was taken in school.
Yeah.
Lots of Liverpool fans here.
Yeah. Well, not Liverpool fans. That's a funny story. That's
Oh,
why.
okay,
Like,
interesting.
yeah.
Let's hear it. What's going on here? Talk
Yeah.
to me.
So it's not so that's like I wanted to show this photo because I mean you must be able to relate too, but like you were saying with the different sports, like I remember when I came there, I was kind of the only one that really liked football. Like you were saying in the US, it's not the most popularized sport or soccer, but I would always push it because I was crazy about it. So on I think this is Halloween for the costumes. I got like 3 of my friends to be to wear the Liverpool shirts, and I was like, they really didn't follow or didn't know anything about it. But
I
as you can see, I
see.
was just so crazy about it that I was like, I'm gonna get you guys your kits. I'm gonna throw you all in the tops, and we could represent Liverpool together. And it was just funny because in school, like nobody knows
Oh.
like what any of this is. Like they didn't
Uh-huh.
understand, and that was just me trying to like, I guess, communicate that passion and trying to spread the love, you know. But
Oh,
yeah,
this is New York, right? Because I
this is New
recognize the
York,
school.
exactly. This is
Oh
New York.
my god, that
Yeah,
makes it even funnier because these kids probably had no idea what these were
exactly,
about.
exactly. No, except the one on the left that's wearing the black
Oh,
New Balance.
uh-huh.
That's my guy Jack. He
Mhm.
was an Arsenal fan because of Samir Nasri, so he like follows Arsenal.
Oh,
But
okay,
other than
but you
that,
made him wear a Liverpool
they
shirt.
couldn't name one player, maybe Messi, but not more than that.
Oh, that's incredible. Also, you mentioned playing footy a lot. What position do you
Yeah.
play?
So I played left back and right back, full back
Okay,
position. Yeah.
okay, but both. Are you a natural left-footed or naturally right-footed?
No, no, I was naturally right-footed, so I would cut in
Mm,
and
okay,
cross,
okay.
but then right back, yeah, that's obviously easier. What about you? When you just
I
started playing college?
Uh, I I played left back when I first started,
Oh,
but now I don't have the energy anymore, so I just usually keep it low key in center back.
center back.
But
Yeah, I was gonna
I always
say,
dreamt of playing in midfield,
of
because my
course,
favorite player was Paul Scholes, like from a football standpoint.
of
So I
course.
always wanted to try playing in midfield, but I realized as soon as I started playing that, like, yeah, no, that's not happening.
Yeah. No, midfield is like, yeah, it's a whole different
Yeah.
ballgame.
Whole different can of worms. So, question I actually had lined up asking you about this photo was actually with respect to your time, growing up as a child, especially in New York. Now that you mention it, did you ever have a chance to talk about footy with your New York friends apart from playing?
Yeah, so there was one guy actually who was so good who played for the Red Bulls Academy, and if you know,
Whoa,
that's kinda like the best, as good as it gets almost.
absolutely.
But he shout out to Lockwood, he also was, like, in the US men's national team youth system, so he
Oh,
was called up,
nice.
I think, for the U17, so I was hyped to have a friend who was very good at football,
Wow.
but
Oh, wow.
but he was less into the watching. He was just like he'd been playing since he was like 5 on a serious level. Like his parents got him into it, like following like that. But yeah, no, otherwise, like people would talk like they weren't interested. And that's like to go back to the Liverpool Goals Instagram that I started 10, 12 years ago. That was really the reason, I didn't really know people who had that same passion. And so I started, talking to other people online and just wanting to share that passion.
Mhm.
And it never like, imagine for 10 years, I was posting every single day on that platform and
Seriously.
never in a day, because people have asked me, like, "How do you not get tired? Aren't there moments where you didn't, you got burnt out, whatever?" And I was like, "Nah, like it never felt like something that wasn't natural. It just felt like I wanted to communicate this because of the love, you know?"
Absolutely. So,
And
so you mentioned Liverpool goals, which we will definitely get into a lot more deeper. But did you start that when you were in school?
yeah, I started that when I was like 12, 13 or something. Yeah,
Incredible. Absolutely
yeah.
incredible. All right, well then let's not waste any more time. Let's keep moving straight forward. We have to talk about this one. So I believe that's Ian Rush.
Yes,
Okay,
Liverpool's all-time top scorer,
okay, cool.
Ian Rush.
The fact that you pretty much edited the photo for me is awesome here. You have the 9-year difference. That's obviously I believe 2014 was the first time you met Ian Rush?
Yeah, and it's the first time I went to Anfield. That was
Awesome.
for and imagine that it was that season, I don't know if you remember 2013, 2014, where Liverpool was just like came so close to winning the title, and it was that season where Luis Suarez was just like unstoppable, like
Mhm.
insane levels. But it was just the most special thing because I'd never been to Anfield, and it's just like you know what it's like to like be every day looking at the news, following the team, watching all the games, and then to actually be there, it feels so surreal because it's like something that's so close to you, and yet you do feel quite far when you're in the US. You can't just
Absolutely.
take a train like you have to take a it's a whole thing. Yeah, it was special because whenever I go there, like just you meet the legends too, and they're the most down to earth people. And that's what's crazy. It's like the most down to earth, and people always make fun of this picture because they're like, Ian Rush looks exactly the same after these 10 years, and you look so much older. And everyone's like, yeah, but that's just like when you have that amount of wealth, you could just stay, you could look the same. That's life.
Oh God! So that was your first trip to Anfield. So so talk to me a little bit more about that experience, maybe because I've never been to Anfield. I'd love to visit, but did you go with friends? Did you go with family? Did you go by
I
yourself?
went
Talk to me a little bit
I
more.
went with my dad,
Mm,
and what's funny
awesome.
too is like my family, no one watches or plays any sport. Like it's really the furthest away that you could imagine.
Oh,
So every time I would like if I tried to bring them, like for them it's so like another world. You know, they have no idea what any of it is. But that's what I quite like because I get to kind of show them,
mm,
and you know, it's just like and they're interested, which is nice. But no, Anfield, like what's just so special is the "You'll Never Walk Alone," like that chant before the game when we all sing it together, and it's just like you know what the song represents, and just being there with all these other fans, it's just like it's so special. And like you were saying before, like just being watching on the television for so many years, and then getting to actually go, it's an out of body experience, you know, because you don't really know if it's real or not, you know, because it's something you dreamed about. But yeah, it was really, really special.
I mean, like the you mentioning "You Never Walk Alone." That's actually very appropriate for me because I actually one of my close friends that I had from college. He was a Liverpool fan.
Mm. Mm.
And, he almost felt to me like he was, like, some sort of, like, religious cult guy, 'cause this was when I was sort of, like, softly a Manchester United fan, and he
Oh,
was doing whatever he could to convert me to
yeah,
Liverpool, and it was one of those, like he was like, "John, you have to come support Liverpool. Just watch
to the
one
right
game.
side.
Just watch come yeah, just watch
Yeah,
one game with me."
yeah.
And one time I remember on in one of, like, our mutual friends' parties, he took me over to his he took me we had, like, a second round at his house, and
Yeah.
him and all of my other friends got absolutely pissed drunk, and he started singing "You'll Never
To
Walk
the rock
Alone,"
alone.
and he started crying, and I was like, "What the hell is going on?" And I
Wow.
told him the next he didn't remember, so I told him the next day that he cried singing that song, and he was like, "Yeah, dude, you don't even know how much Liverpool means to me." Because prior to that, people used to, like, clown on him a little bit because he used to walk around class wearing a Daniel Agger shirt all the time. So
No,
he
I
used to be
love
like
that. Yes.
yeah, so people used to make fun of him a little bit in college,
Oh,
and when he started crying and not he didn't remember and he was just like instinctively crying, singing "You'll Never Walk Alone."
yeah.
I couldn't. It really fully cemented like how passionate people can get about football. And then actually years later, it was actually maybe 2 years later, something like that. He
Yeah.
went to Anfield for the first time and he filmed a video of him and his friends singing "You'll Never Walk Alone." And they were all crying at Anfield. I was like, damn, it's
Oh,
incredible. It doesn't matter which team you support. The fact you mentioned an out of body experience, I think that's probably the best way to like describe it.
no, wow, that's beautiful. I love that too because I feel like it's so rare. Like you said you were in a group of guy friends, right? In
Yes,
that
yes.
environment. So
Mhm.
like for a guy to just openly cry, like that's quite like rare, I feel like, you know, like to show that kind of vulnerability. So that's I'm surprised and it's
Also,
beautiful to
okay,
hear.
so let's talk a little bit about that. Do you think guys should cry more in 2024?
No, I just feel I have a friend who's much more open with his emotions.
Mm,
Shout out to Jack, and he just made me realize because I've gotten closer and closer to him in 2023,
mm,
and it just made me realize how rare it is for men to be open about their emotions, and it's through becoming like close to him that I realize in myself because I went a lot into introspection and being like, damn, like I wish I could express my emotions like him. I wish, you know, I could be vulnerable. And then, and it's through him, like just like openly telling me things. And I think it's so great because every time he has opened up to me, it's really made me feel so much better because a lot of these emotions that we feel, they're present in all of us. Like we're not alone in anything that we feel, you know, and him opening up as much as he did has allowed me to open up more, but also just feel okay about a lot of, you know, whether it be anxiety, whether all these things that we feel as human beings, it's normal. But when you don't talk about them, sometimes you do feel like you're alone, you know, and that's something that I think definitely for men, crying is one example, but I think just literally talking about a difficulty, for example, that you're having in a relationship, that I feel like most people don't really necessarily do, you know? And why not? Because they're again, it's probably something that we all go through, but we have to
Absolutely.
act tough for some reason. And what I love is I've seen through him that it's like you can show your toughness by talking about your emotions. I think there's nothing more like brave than that actually, you
Absolutely.
know?
It's incredible. For real. I think it's always important, at least from a mental health perspective, that anyone in any sort of capacity with respect to having any presence to
Yeah.
a crowd, I think we all need to do our part in trying to, speak these truths and let people know that men's health is important. Mental health
Yeah.
for men is important, and crying and sharing your emotions. It's all part of vulnerability, and vulnerability is courageous. So I think you're actually spot on. But I wanted to this maybe sort of bring us back to this photo here, because
Yeah.
that 9 year gap must have been very huge, and for you to meet Ian Rush again. Did he remember you?
So no, he didn't remember me,
Which is
but
fine.
it's still. But what's awesome though is that same day, this was in like a Legends lounge at Anfield,
Mm,
so there were some other legends, and Semi Hipia was there, and he did
okay.
recognize though who I'd met before, and that's like so sick because it's just like these players. Like I didn't get to see Ian Rush, and Semi Hipia was quite young too,
Mm,
but this shows you how big of a Liverpool fan I am too. I found a way to download all of the season reviews when I was like 12 or 13, and I watched back like all of the games from all the seasons. So I got to basically see like the goals from all the games, and because I wanted to know more about the years that I missed. And obviously
wow.
it was more like 90s and early 2000s,
Mm-hmm.
but I just love hearing about like, the legends because in Liverpool they're really still involved, and I think for United it's the same, no, where just like the major legends are still all around the club. Like he's an ambassador, so it's still a part of the current history, you know.
Exactly. Wow. Damn. To be able to go back to watch all the season reviews, you are a dedicated man, Leo. I respect that. This is a good place to take a quick little pause, because I want to do I want to try something different with you. So I'm going to ask you a bunch of quick fire questions. You're just going to answer them off the top
Okay.
of your head. Sounds good? Okay,
Yeah,
here we go.
let's go.
Win the Champions League with Liverpool or win the Premier League with Liverpool?
Premier League.
Grab dinner with Paul Scholes or grab dinner with Frank Lampard?
False goals.
Scholesy? Okay, cool. Score a last minute winner at Anfield, but draw, or save a last minute pen at Anfield and win?
Win. Save a pen.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Okay. One player you'd like to sign at Liverpool now?
That's really hard. Can it be anyone on the planet?
Anyone.
Rodri.
Rodri. Okay. One footballer you'd love to interview right now?
I think it has to be the idol, Stevie G. It has to
Okay.
be.
Daniel Agger or Martin Skirtle?
Gotta be Daniel Agger. Imagine
Peter Crouch?
You'll Never Walk Alone tattooed on his knuckles.
Wow,
Daniel
really?
Agger on his knuckles. You'll never walk alone. That shows how much you love the club.
That's a red through and through. Okay, cool. Next one. Peter Crouch or Michael Owen?
I love the Peter Crouch podcast, so I have to say Peter Crouch. But apparently, and I was too young for Michael Owen, but I know Reds that supported since the 90s, and many say that Michael Owen, like he's the only Liverpool player to have won the Ballon d'Or. Imagine. So he's like,
Wow.
when he was at Liverpool, when he was young before the injuries, he was unplayable. But I think Peter Crouch, because yeah, you know the Peter Crouch podcast. It's awesome.
Absolutely. Jordan Henderson or Steven Gerrard?
Stevie G.
Wow. Okay. I'm gonna come back on that one during the
Yeah.
podcast. Okay. Next one. Last one here. Is it Xavi Alonso or Steven Gerrard?
Stevie G.
Oh
Gotta be
man,
Stevie
really?
G.
Okay.
But who could be a potential future manager for Liverpool? I love you, Stevie, but there's a bigger chance it's Xavi Alonso.
Steven Gerrard obviously is a player that I used to watch many a
Mm,
times, having sort
yeah.
of grown up idolizing Paul Scholes, the era of Paul Scholes, Stevie G, Frank Lampard. Before we get into like the depth of this photo and sort of talk about what's going on here, talk to me a little bit about Stevie G, the footballer. Like, what were like the quality traits that you really loved
Yeah,
about
I mean,
Stevie?
yeah, what I love the most, and that's what's crazy, is that he's the reason I started supporting the club. It was in Iceland when my
Mm,
friend Bjarne showed me like tapes of Stevie G highlights. like very young. This was when he was very young, but I just saw the passion in his celebrations, and I knew nothing about football because I was like
Mm.
7, and I saw the passion, and I was like, I don't know what this is, but I want to be part of it. Like I had no idea what it signified. I didn't know what the club was. Nothing. I literally, I
Oh.
would see his celebrations,
Mm.
and I would be like, whatever is happening here, it means a whole lot. And so I dove more and more into it, and then yeah, I grew up watching him, and I think what's so special is how he was in so many poor Liverpool teams over the years where we just had, we didn't have the best ownerships, we didn't have the best teams, we didn't have the best managers, but he just gave everything, every single game to just pull the team on his own. That was on his shoulders, his city, imagine. And he just, like, the trophies that we won, which should have been more, the ones that we did, like that was him against West Ham scoring a last minute equalizer when he had no legs left in Istanbul in the Champions League final, for him to score that header and tell the team, no, we're still in this, in that comeback. Like all of those moments, I just I are so iconic. You know what I mean? That like growing up,
Absolutely.
he symbolized basically like that you never give up, and what Liverpool means, what it means to be a Liverpool player. And that's when I was like, yeah, this club means a lot, and I think you can understand that not having gone to the city or be from the city. You
Right,
know?
right. Absolutely. So I'm assuming Steven Gerrard. It's safe to assume that Steven Gerrard is your favorite footballer.
Yeah,
I mean this with the greatest respect.
yeah,
That moment I thought when the season when Steven Gerrard that whole slip situation, I
yeah,
truly felt that Steven Gerrard was going to win the Premier League that season.
yeah.
How much of an emotional heartbreak was that for you to watch that happen?
Yeah, it was really, it was such a heartbreak, but
Mm.
at the same time, I'm one of those people that always like looks at positive things, I feel like. And so after that happened, I was just appreciating the fun of that season. And obviously it was heartbreaking, but at the same time, like those moments happen in football. And
Right.
it's like, and in life, you have like moments where like that for him must have been the hardest moment. And I've actually heard him in interviews since then, and he said he actually still thinks about that day every single day. Like it
Right.
comes to him every single day. Like it was that much of a heartbreak.
Right.
But the thing is, it's like that will never take away what he means. And that's again, when I go back to like watching those tapes at the very beginning, it's like some players mean so much more than trophies, that like I'll just remember him for everything that he gave in every single game. And it's normally that you're gonna have a few off games. It's just like now I see some people react crazily after, like, for example, United game after drawing 0-0 at home. I literally saw some fans saying "Sell Salah," like this team is not good enough. We need to buy 5 players in January. And I'm like, guys, like nobody would have expected us to be top of the league by now. Like, let's appreciate, and that's why sometimes I just like to, and I've done this more and more as I got older, just take a step back and be like, and just like I've heard you say about United too, just saying like, guys, this is a blip. This is a moment in our history. After all those years of Sir Alex, of course it was going to be hard to find a way around that. Just like when Klopp leaves, I think it could be a similar impact
Mm.
because our ownership also has a lot of problems, you know what I mean? And he kind of shields all of it because of his greatness. But yeah, just to go back, I think I like that's again where football gets is bigger than just football itself. Like finding ways around those emotions in those difficult moments. I feel like in
Absolutely.
that moment, I tried to just take a step back after obviously probably crying and being like, "Wow, he's never gonna win the league," and just like that's we all knew that's what he wanted to be able to say he won everything.
Mm.
And but again, it's like his legacy will still be for Liverpool fans at least, and that's what matters most to him. I think the city, what he meant to the city,
Mm.
it's never gonna be really impacted by that
Right.
because it's one game, 2 games.
The question, one of the quick fire questions I asked was Jordan Henderson or Steven Gerrard. I've been listening to a lot more podcasts, especially based in the UK,
Mm.
where for the sake, I guess those podcasts, I guess for the sake of trying to be a little bit more
Cheeky.
contrarian and trying to be cheeky. There you go.
Yeah.
They ask Liverpool fans, which do you prefer? Because their sort of drive or the impetus behind the question is although Steven Gerrard was such a legend, Jordan Henderson, was the captain for Liverpool, I guess, in this recent golden age, having
Mhm.
won a whole bunch of trophies. Do you think Jordan Henderson has had the similar impact as Steven Gerrard, or do you think he's had greater impact? What do you think?
No, I think they're so different. Like I would actually say they're polar opposites from what I've heard. So basically, Stevie as a captain is more one that apparently wouldn't really talk in the dressing room. He wouldn't really be a communicator. He led on the pitch. So whether it would be, for example, in training, he would set the tone about what it means to be a Liverpool player, and that's like giving 110%. When you would be on the pitch, like that moment in Istanbul, apparently he didn't say anything at halftime. He just came out in the second half, and he's like, I'm going to take the game by the scruff of the neck and make the difference. And on
Wow.
the other hand, Hendo is apparently an incredible leader off the pitch. So he's the
Mm,
one that's communicating. He organized, during COVID, a lot of like charity, and he's the one that's going to make those speeches. And it's true, he's a really hard trainer and he gives 110% too, but he doesn't have the same qualities as Stevie G in terms of taking the game by the scruff of the neck and making the difference. Like he just, you know what I mean? I wouldn't have classified him as world class, but as a leader, yeah, I mean, he led us to the whole lot. You know what I mean? But
absolutely.
yeah, it's like I don't know if you could, like, for United, would you say there's a similar example of that you could think of where it's like one leads more like on the pitch making the difference and one is more probably behind the scenes? I feel like Roy Keane was both, honestly. Like
Absolutely.
what I heard, you know what I
Absolutely.
mean?
Exactly. But when I first started like really understanding and breaking down the dynamics of what it means to have leaders in a squad,
Mm,
I think Rio Ferdinand in particular was a lot more the expressive, sort of
yeah,
commanding type, both on and off the pitch.
yeah,
Whereas somebody like my favorite player, Paul Scholes, was a lot more quieter. He was a lot more
exactly.
introverted. He sort of led, like you say, he led by example on the pitch.
Mm,
The qualities of the passing ranges, the decision making, the composure, every
yeah,
single element of his game was always at this elite level, that people had no choice but to praise him. People had no
yeah.
choice but to follow him by that example to try and set those standards. Yeah.
Mm.
But let's go back to this photo. Now, actually breaking down this situation here. Talk to me about Talk to me about what's going on here.
The most special day. It's the most special day too because imagine, and that's something that we'll talk about later. But Jose Enrique is someone who during COVID I started talking to because during COVID, a lot of players just had more time because usually their schedules are crazy filled, and so I just GM like all the players during COVID on Liverpool goals, and I was like, hey, would you mind jumping? Like, I would love to do a Q&A with you or just like go on a live together and bring some positivity to people because it's COVID, and everybody was locked inside and we had nothing else to do. You know what I mean? And and so I was able to do a live, for example, with Luis Garcia, which was awesome, and he's such a nice
Wow.
guy. But it was really with Jose Enrique that we developed a friendship, and but I'll talk more about that later. But what was
Yeah.
incredible about that day is the fact that with Jose, he was called up to the Liverpool Legends game, and he invited me to watch the Liverpool Legends game, who played against United, actually, the United Legends. And
Wow.
so they trained at the Liverpool training ground before that game at Anfield, and Jose invited me to the training ground. Imagine. So basically, it was just the family of the players, and I was like the only friend there, basically, of Jose. So I'm there. Imagine this. I'm there at the training ground, and there's Sami Hipia, there's Stevie G, there's Milan Barros, there's Luis Garcia, all of the legends that won in Istanbul, the Champions League. And I'm I can't speak. Like I'm just we're also walking through the training ground, mind you, which is already a
Wow.
crazy experience. Like the current training ground, the AXA training ground, where the current players train. And
Wow.
so I'm walking there, and I knew Stevie was in the squad. So I arrived, and I was like, Jose, like I don't think emotionally I'm gonna be able to do this whole thing if Stevie's there. Like I think I'm just gonna freak. And so we start like walking together. And this is what's amazing about Jose. Like he's the most down to earth guy you'll ever meet. Like just from the moment I started speaking to him, it was just like he doesn't see any you know what I mean? The dynamics with him, it's always like everyone's equal par. Like he treats you like he would treat anyone else, or like he would want to be treated. And and so anyways, we start doing the tour and stuff, and we're with some of the other players,
Uh-huh.
and we're walking down the stairs, and as we turn, I see Stevie at a distance, and I stop. Like I just physically stop, and I'm like, "Jose, like I don't think I'm gonna be able to do this, like with all these people around and everything." And he's like, amigo. He's like, amigo, I played with him. Don't you worry. We're just gonna go talk to him. And so we go, and imagine for like 10, it's like for 10 minutes, I'm just there with Stevie and Jose, and they're just catching up about like their families' lives because they were teammates. And I'm just like there, and I'm like another out of body experience. And I'm
That's
just there,
insane.
and I'm like, that's Stevie, like right in front of me. And it's not like I'm just came to ask for a picture. It's like we're just talking like casually here, you know? And so that, yeah, obviously was completely crazy. But what was so like what I really found quite insane is how like Stevie really has that aura where even with all these other players as we were doing the tour, like
Mhm.
it just felt like he had a different aura in terms of like everyone was kind of going close to him. And this is like the players and the players' family, so it's not like fans, but
Mhm.
everyone was asking for pictures. Everyone was just kind of on him, and it and yeah, I mean it's he's quite like actually I feel like he's quite like not shy, but more like he's not as expressive, you know. But yeah, I mean, as you can imagine, it's just like totally crazy to do it in that type of environment where it's not like you know you you ask for a quick picture for 2 seconds. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? That's why it's
Absolutely.
just like looking back, I don't see how that happened. Like I just don't.
You must have been so proud though, right? Because I don't know if maybe this could be a two-part question. Did you ever start Liverpool goals with the well, I know you said you started because you have your passion for Liverpool, but did you ever start Liverpool goals with the intention of maybe potentially, it taking off into some sort of a more full-time, like financially rewarding type of situation? And
No.
and the second part to that is how proud were you when using your connection through something like Liverpool goals, you're able to talk to the players you once idolized and watched on television?
Yeah. No, I mean, for the first question, like seriously, like I said, it was like I was 12, 13. Like I was just literally just like wanting to express that passion. And
Mm.
I never like one I remember when the page hit 1,000 followers, I was like, how is that possible? Like what's going on here? Who are these people? You know what I mean? I didn't know what that was. And so
Uh-huh.
I think it was just like I was literally just day by day, just naturally wanting to express that. And it was nothing like I never just looked a year down the line. I never thought long term, honestly. It was
Mm.
just like day by day, it just like felt amazing to be able to connect with others, you know? And then the fact that it happened that way just makes it so special, you know, because it's just like it just feels like things are meant to be sometimes when you're genuine, you know, and you just want to spread that love. I think it can come back, and it just but yeah, that day really was but honestly, it was more I really did feel like I didn't belong there though. That's the only thing. Like
Mhm.
I remember I was just like I was like other fans deserve this more than me type of thing, you know, like just feeling guilty for the experience, I feel like. Um but I think it's normal probably when you have crazy experiences like that, you
Absolutely.
know?
Well, I wanted to big you up. I'm gonna take this moment to big up my guy Leo because long time ago, years ago, when I first started randomly uploading videos and talking about Manchester United, I wanted to do that because I wanted to use that and this was a very, I guess, I don't know if childish is the right word, but it was very simple, maybe innocent. I started doing content because I wanted to use that as an opportunity to grow and potentially get to meet my hero, this guy
Yeah.
right here, Jisung
Yeah,
Park.
I
Yeah,
was gonna say that's gonna
like
happen. The same
I
way it's
want
gonna
that.
happen. It
Yeah,
will, bro. It will.
let's talk it.
But
Speak it
that
into
what was
existence.
that what was that though your major inspiration, would you say, to or would you say it was more like to express I mean, it was probably both, but what's your like was your long-term goal like one day I'm gonna meet him or
Mm, so I initially started uploading because I was so frustrated. This was around the time when David Moyes just come in. I remember the first video I ever uploaded. I recorded it on Skype. They had like this recording function. I don't even know if you remember Skype, but I was sitting in
of
my
course.
and I was
Yeah.
so pissed off because I was just sick and tired of watching this crap after having watched Sir Alex Ferguson absolutely just kick absolutely incredible ball. And then now I'm having to freaking have to deal with um whatchamacallit, David Moyes' football. I was like, oh my god, there's no way this is happening, And I remember we got knocked out of the Champions League, although Patrice ever scored a really good goal. We just got kicked out of the Champions League, and I was furious. And I remember uploading a video. And back then, this was me just absolutely on my wild day. So I was just screaming and shouting like, "This is unacceptable!" Da, da, da."
How
And
old
then
were you then? How
uh,
old would you say when?
20, I think I was 20, maybe
Okay.
19. Yeah, around that. Oh no, I think 19. Yeah, but I was stupid back then, man. During college days, even younger days, especially growing up in like New York City, when you're just absolutely stupid. The things you used to do and say, you're freaking idiots. And if you think about it now, your childhood days. But
Yeah.
uh, I remember uploading first time, and then once I started uploading, I realized that there was already a world that was developing with respect to football content, especially on YouTube.
Mm,
And then
yeah.
this was around the time when Full Time Devils. I don't know if you've ever heard of Full
Right.
Time
Yeah,
Devils.
of course.
Um, there's also a Liverpool channel. I can't. The name has just
Redman
evaded
TV?
me. Redmond. Oh my goodness, yeah,
Yeah,
Redmond
Redman.
TV, Arsenal Fan TV. And this is the era when those guys start to really like take shape. And I was
Yeah.
like, oh, this is really cool. So I
Yeah.
started uploading like that, and then I realized, very soon later down the line that these guys are getting like thousands and thousands of subscribers like this. So I thought, maybe by way of
Possible.
logic, yeah, that was sort of
Yeah.
the gateway into my logic behind creating content. But I
That's
remember the
it.
first time I started uploading into YouTube and started collaborating with other content creators. I started
Yeah.
receiving a lot of hate because
Really?
I was American. So when you upload videos as an American, they're like, who the F is this Yank uploading, talking about football?
Not have
You know?
received 2, to be fair, yeah.
Do
Uh,
people say something about your accent at all?
yeah, well, people are always like, "Is he American?" And then it's like and that's always with a negative connotation, as you know, in football, because,
Yeah.
like, also it's like there's this thing where people are like, "It's not soccer, it's football." And I'm like, "What does it matter?" It's one of those things where it's like people fight so much about that wording, and I'm like, "What does it matter if you call it this or that?" You know, I
Oh, yeah.
do agree that football makes more sense because it's played with the foot, but, like,
Absolutely.
if 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 you wanna use, like, soccer, like, why be an issue? But, yeah, that's, like was that difficult, though, for you when you started and you saw those hate messages? Like,
Yeah, it
how
scared
did you
me.
deal with it?
It scared me.
Yeah.
Growing up, I grew up in I'm not gonna say I grew up in like, the tough areas, but I grew up with a
Yeah.
crowd that was relatively, a little bit more receptive and a little bit more welcoming. And I was so grateful having immigrated to a country and then having met such amazing people. And
Oh,
I never felt that kind of intensity in terms of like the racial pressure, in terms of the sort of anger. Although I've had racial, confrontations, it was never to that
right.
point of like, oh my God, because that was the first time ever where I had to really check back, because I remember uploading and this one guy, these two guys in particular were just going at it. Like they were
Mm.
just going out of the way, waiting for me to upload a video just so to be able to be the
No.
first ones to comment. Yeah, and funny enough, actually, I recently was cleaning up my old hard drive, and I remember back then I screenshotted their comments because it hurt me so deeply that I remember like I remember back then I was like, I'm gonna
You're gonna
find these
prove
guys
him.
one day. I'm gonna freaking scream at them, send them a hate email or something. I remember I was just so
Yeah.
upset because they went out of their way to just continuously attack me, and it really scared me. That was the first time ever I was ever scared of anything. I was like, oh my God, this is actually a scary area. Like, and the internet could be a scary place.
Yeah, absolutely. And
Have you ever
putting your
felt that?
face.
Like in
Yeah,
the
and putting
Liverpool
your
goals?
face. Well, like, the thing is I didn't really put a face to it for,
Yeah, I
like,
remember you
8
mentioning that.
years. It was just like a fan
Mhm.
community page type of thing, so there wasn't a face to it. But when I did start putting a face, that's when, like, when I would go live on Instagram and stuff, it's true, like, there were just like, a lot of it was also, like, "You're a fake fan because you're not from the UK or from Liverpool, you're not Scouse," all these things.
Mm.
But, yeah, I think the thing that scared me the most, though, is actually, like, a hacker that hacked the account, like, some years back. It was bad, like, before you had double security on Instagram and stuff,
Right, right.
and this guy got into the account, actually, and he posted a nude photo of Wayne Rooney. And it was just like, imagine, it was horrible because, like, for a Liverpool fan community, it's like the worst thing that could be posted. Now I laugh because, like, it's the past, but like, like 50,000 followers were lost in like 30 minutes because it was just like, yeah, they was just trying to mess everything up. But the scary thing is, like, he somehow got into the computer too or something, and he had my IP, and so he was like sending me messages like, with the address I was in. And he's like, I'm gonna come find you and kill, like, get you all this stuff. And that was like so scary because there I was like, oh my god, whoever this person is, like, they they like have my address, they have all this information. And I was like only like 14, 15, so I was like
I know.
freaking
Oh
out.
my God.
But thank God, like my parents were there, and they saw that he was just trying to get money, and so often he would say stuff like that and be like, here, though, you pay this amount and I'll give you your account back and stuff. And so eventually that worked. Like I was able to gather the money to it sounds like a hostage situation. I was able to gather the money to buy the account back from the hacker. And like somehow actually he did give the account back, like,
Wow.
after that. So
So you
yeah.
you officially had it hijacked and robbed from you, and you actually
Yeah.
had to deliver a ransom, and you had to buy it back,
Yeah.
and he actually gave it back.
Yeah, that's my biggest surprise, honestly. That's where I'm like, really?
Wow, that must have been such a traumatic experience for you.
Yeah. No, it was not great, but again, like, it was such a good lesson learned because, like, with online stuff, you have to be so careful of, like, keeping longer passwords, not writing them down and play, like, just security things online to be careful of. And I feel like from that moment on, since then, I've just, like, it's something you got to be careful, like, really careful of, I feel like.
Right. All right. Well, let's move on to the final picture. It is a photo with you, and I believe that's Jose Enrique.
Exactly. The thing is, we're a bit small in this picture. We're a bit small, but yeah, I began talking about him before, and it's one of those things too that's so special, and that's where where people might not understand. Like when you do things online, it doesn't only have to stay digital, because I sometimes have existential questions where I'm like, I'm in front of this camera, and I'm like talking to this camera, this mic, and it's like, you don't, it's hard to connect with then the comments that you see, or you know what I mean, there is a
Right.
disconnect because
Right.
you're not in real life with the people. But I do think if you, that energy that you bring across, which I've said with you from seeing your first few videos, I was like, this guy, I just love your energy, the positivity, and that energy is something that you can sense, and that's really real, you know. And with Jose as well, what was so nice is like we'd go on these lives and it wouldn't feel like it would have to be a Q&A. Like we were just like laughing and having a good time, and it just was so special to be able to do that with the former Red too, because it was like to get that insight, from someone that trained with Stevie, with Luis Suarez. Like imagine. And then to be eventually able to meet in person, that was like after COVID, and so we really started talking during COVID, so that was like a friendship, a really special friendship that was developed because it was tough times, where we were locked inside.
Mm.
And and he's just been like such an inspiration too, because he's been through a lot of hardships in his life too. Like he had cancer, and he had to end his career due to a lot of injuries. And so he's had a lot of like setbacks, but he has this way of like saying every day is such a privilege to be here, that he has this energy about him too, where it's just like being thankful for every single day, because you don't know how long we have left, and already to be born on this planet is something pretty incredible, and yeah, he's really been, it's been an inspiration off the football too, because again, it's like he eventually, like, I learned about those things, but it's sometimes you just can sense someone's energy,
Mm.
and nothing more really needs to be said, and that's how it's felt with him. And he's so generous too. Like when he was in that Legends, he was called up to the Legends game, like all he wanted to do was make it the best experience for me. Imagine, it wasn't about him getting to go back to Anfield, his, all these things. It was like, I know how much Leo loves Liverpool, I know how much this experience can mean to him. And he did everything, I'm telling you. Like for example, when they started training on the pitch, he invited me to receive a pass. He was like passing with Fabio Aurelio, and I was like just like on the side, and he's like, "Yo, Leo," and he pings the ball to me on the side, and he just like
Wow.
and that just tells you like he just wanted to involve me in everything. And and that's because, again, I think through a lot of those hardships that he had, for him it's like, and now he has a child too, and I think that's also changes a lot. But he's like life is not about me. Like I've already been so privileged to play and have all these experiences. Now I want to share that with other people,
Mm.
and I can tell you, like, we've done, like, I've seen other people, Liverpool fans, that he's kind of had friendships with, or given things away, or these different things, and it's like for him it's just about how can I make people's day, year, week, whatever it may be, and it's just special to see, because yeah.
That's incredible. What an insane. You have absolutely stunned me. Like the stories that you've been sharing with me,
Yeah.
absolutely incredible. Oh my god. I guess with this final photo, I kind of wanted to maybe touch a little bit more on the football side of things with respect to Liverpool. Of course, all the trophies that you see in the back there. Liverpool seem to
Yeah.
be consistently doing well over the years.
Well, that's
Under Jurgen Klopp, I can see. I mean, they had a bad season from your standards. I guess it was considered a bad season last
last
season.
season. Yeah.
Yeah, but seems like you're doing well again. What do you think is the recipe to that? Do you think it's all Jurgen Klopp?
Oh yeah. I mean, Jose Enrique, he says it all the time. Like what you saw with after Sir Alex, it really feels like Jurgen Klopp is holding the entire club together. Like he
Mm,
himself is able to pave over every crack. And with his ownership, there are quite a few cracks. And and what's incredible is he can really he has this ability. And if you listen to Hendo, he was on the High Performance podcast. I don't know if you know of that podcast, but it's awesome. And Hendo was saying how the moments that were most defining for him in their victories in winning the lot under Klopp was all the down moments. They said we saw Klopp's strength and the mentality that he can instill in the team in the moments where they lost. And I'm like, what? In the moments you lost? And he's like, yeah, because he says he celebrates losses, but he doesn't celebrate them in saying like, oh, like you know, where you might imagine. He's more so like, we need to celebrate the fact that we push this hard,
mm,
because that's a lot of effort that we put in. For example, when they would lost in the Champions League final, he was like, we need to appreciate these moments, but then how do we use that to get it over the line next time? And it's just like, what I think is most special about Klopp is not tactically, because Pep, for example, tactically has done things that are just out of this world. And Klopp, I'm sure, would tell you, like, I'm nowhere near Pep in that sense, but who he is as a human being and the impact I think he can have on people, I think that is what has made this club so successful, and so like why the times have been so special, because
mhm,
he's taking players like Wataru Endo, for example, right now for Liverpool. He's going to be like our unsung hero, where nobody knew, like when he signed from Stuttgart this summer, 30-year-old who, like, for a club that was battling relegation, why is Liverpool signing that in the position we needed the most, defensive mid? But
mm,
right now he's stepping up for us, and he's becoming like a vital player in the team. Like as soon as the Asia Cup, and like Liverpool fans right now are dreading that because he is so important. And I can tell you, when we signed him in the summer, there was just so much negativity, and that's the thing about Klopp, which I think no other manager in the world can do to that level. He can sign someone that's not ready made, that nobody really believes in, and he can take them to that level
wow.
because of what he can instill in a human being. you know
Absolutely. And you mentioned like the linchpin aspect of Jurgen Klopp, and
yeah.
when I think about managers now with respect to the manager that I absolutely fell in love with in Sir Alex Ferguson, I think
Yeah.
managerial styles and the tenureships and I think
Yeah.
managers in particular are sort of different than the Wengers or the Sir Alex Fergusons. But
Yeah.
I think maybe if I may, and Man United fans, I need you to understand that I'm being real here. I think if I may, I think Jurgen Klopp has pretty much been probably more closer towards that, I guess, that sort of father figure or somebody that actually is sort of like the arm around the shoulder kind of energy than Jurgen Klopp that I sense from somebody like Pep Guardiola. But my
Mm.
question to you is, do you think Jurgen Klopp will stay maybe 1 decade or 2 decades? Do you think he has that sort of in him?
That's the most stressful question one can ask. But like what's tough is he plays such high intensity football, and because he gives his absolute everything, I just don't know how long he could really last. Because right now he's already outlasted his tenures at Mainz and Dortmund, so people kind of expected him to go like before this new contract that he signed. But
Mm.
what I just think, hopefully, and the same thing with Salah is what all Liverpool fans are hoping. It's like I do think the better we do, the more he believes that he can keep creating history. You know what I mean? And he's still so I think it kind of depends on yeah what can still be achieved and what he thinks he still has in him. And clearly he has a lot in him because this season, like you saw the bounce back, and you asked also why you think there's that bounce back. I'm almost sure that like the two main reasons is one, he slightly changed the way we played in April, and I actually recently made a video on it when Trent became an inverted fullback. Like we really kind of transitioned, and that, for example, he took from Pep. But since that moment, if you look at our form from then till the end of last season, we went on like a 12-game winning run. Like we really turned things around towards the end of last season, and then the other thing is the midfield rebuild in the summer where we had like Fabinho, we had Hendo, we had Millie, who did a lot, so much running during those club years that they didn't have it in them anymore. Like your legs at one point just aren't what they used to be, especially under club system where they run so much that we
Absolutely.
needed to have a midfield rebuild. And because of Saudi Arabia, like it was forced upon the club basically. Like
Right.
Fabinho left in a manner where we didn't think he would leave, and it allowed for signings of Soboslai and Maka and these players who aren't at their best yet, but like just having legs in the midfield for the way Klopp likes to play,
Mm.
I think that's a massive part of it goes down to that.
I have last two questions for you before I let you go. First question is, how do you think the season's gonna go for Liverpool? Do
Oh,
you
I thought
see a
you were gonna ask
trophy?
about United. I thought you were gonna ask about United. I thought you were like, I've had enough of Liverpool now. Let's talk about United. I was sure you would ask about
I'd rather
United.
not talk about Man United at this moment in time. So let's keep talking about your
Wow.
club for now. I want to hear
Okay.
about what your predictions are for Liverpool this season. Do you foresee a trophy? What we saying?
Yeah, well, I mean, the Carabao Cup, like we're in the semis, so there's a good chance of that. And then the Europa League, like there's a good chance of that because like you look at the teams and I do think we can be favorites. But the Premier League, I think, is gonna be really tough looking at City because you see, like, did you see the game against Everton? I didn't watch the game against Everton, but they're without Doku, they're without Erling Haaland, they're without De Bruyne. Everton are in such good form, and they go 1-0 down, and you're like, okay, this is gonna be it, and they just find a way. They find a way, and this is not like how they get into the rhythm, and it's just
Right.
I worry about them because
Really? So you
they're
you
like
think City would do that to you? I thought Arsenal would be
oh,
this
I'm not.
year's
Yeah, I'm a lot less worried about Arsenal because you look. I mean, look at West Ham yesterday. They lost at home, and I think the big reason is because they don't have a lethal attacker. They don't have someone that I know Saka's like has high goal contributions, but for me, there's no one in that team where when you're going through a tough time, which you will many times in the season, that's going to be like, I'm here. I'm going to step up and score for you. And I think for City, that's Erling Haaland or De Bruyne will make that difference, But in Arsenal's midfield, maybe Odegaard, but he's not on De Bruyne's level. You know what I mean? So it's like those key moments where it is tough and teams will sit deep, which now I think other teams will look at that West Ham game and be like, let's just do what West Ham did. Let's sit super deep and just not let them just play around us and not have those clear cut chances on the counter or whatever it may be. But yeah, I think City will be tough, but I mean we'll see. But I think you guys could also pick up some. Look, your eyes. I literally said that just to see your eyes open up.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
literally, I wasn't even planning on saying anything. I just wanted to see your reaction. I'm not kidding, but because I knew you would
Oh,
light up. You'd be like, no,
uh,
but don't you think that window that you like that was in that comeback? Don't you think those type of games can turn a season around and just like bring back belief to the manager? Because that's been talked about so much with Ten Hag. Like, don't you think those can be monumental moments, or you think it's so much
absolutely.
beyond that?
No, you're
Yeah,
100% spot on. Those are the moments that inspire comebacks in terms of a season. If your season's been absolutely just horrific, and it's one of those situations where, you know, things just have been looking so bad. Those are the
yeah,
games that help you turn things around. But for Manchester United this season, as much of an optimist as I am, it feels more and more like it's still far from convincing me that they can do anything because we've had those moments. It might not have been comebacks, but we'd have moments where we're like, "Oh, this is where we truly turn things around. This is where we
yeah,
can build, and this
yeah,
is where we can find that momentum." And then all of a sudden, we just crash again. So that
yeah.
inconsistency The
'Cause
inconsistency, ironically, has been so consistent this season, and I think that's the problem that
yeah,
we're facing right now. And
yeah.
honestly, at this point in time, as a Man United fan, I if you told me you get top four, I would say I'll take it right now. And
Oh,
I
yeah.
would take my chips and I will walk out of the
Of course.
casino. You know what I mean?
Of
At this
course.
point
Are
in
you
time,
kidding? Yeah.
exactly.
Like, my ultimate dream, honestly, with the channel, the main reason I started this Leo's Goals channel was not to just make content about Liverpool. Like, my long-term dream, because I love documentaries. Like, documentaries, since I've been a kid, I've just watched all types of documentaries, not just sports
Oh,
ones. And the dream would be able to get the channel to a level where it's possible to fund and make documentaries within the world of sports,
wow.
so because I my family also works in production of TV, so I know what
Incredible.
traditional production media looks like, and
Oh,
I've just wanted to go kind of further away from it because things take a long time, and like, you don't really always have control. While with a YouTube channel, I feel like if you get it to a level where it's big enough, the audience, then you can facilitate passion projects like that, which where you can tell stories, and the dream would be able to tell stories around football, around sports that are bigger than life in some ways, and I think it could be possible.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Look, if the day comes when you say, "Hey, John, I'm making a documentary," I'm
Yeah.
there. I'm holding the
Yeah.
mics. I'm holding
That's
the
yeah.
lights. I'm
That
running
would be
around
so
getting coffee. I'm
yeah.
in the staff.
Nah, nah, nah.
That's
No, but
incredible,
imagine
man.
how special that would be. Like, that's the beautiful thing though about YouTube,
Absolutely.
and you've been in the YouTube world a long time too. It's like you don't have rules. Like, you don't have rules, and why not dream? Because you are creating a lot of this stuff. It's like sometimes it won't do so well, sometimes it'll do well, but to do the things that I think you really want to, instead of just trying to hit amount of views, I think is the way where, like, in the long term you're most motivated too, because otherwise, like, burnout is just gonna happen, I think.
Leo, we have
Yes.
reached the end of the show. I think honestly, I've loved every single guest. This is the first time ever where I've genuinely been stunned. And I've had Steve come on here talking to me about Rio Ferdinand, and you have stunned me talking
That's
about
such a great
Liverpool. So the
about
irony
Liverpool, at
of it
least
all.
because it's about Liverpool. That's why it's wrong.
Hey, Leo, just want to thank you once again. If you have anything to plug, I really wish my platform was substantially big enough so that it could be of some benefit. But hopefully, to my immaculate collective that are watching, you guys might be interested in following Liverpool content. If you guys are interested in just going to support Leo, anything, can you plug any of your works, Leo?
Yeah, so the YouTube channel is Leo's Goals. It's really that simple. Really that simple. But seriously, big up. It was such a it was such an honor to be on your channel as well, because like I said, the moment, and this is what's beautiful, even though it is digital, and I'm sure you also have those weird existential moments, it's like your energy comes across. And I think that's what's really special.
Appreciate it. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. If you guys are new to the channel, if you guys are here from Leo's Goals or from Liverpool Goals, please do consider subscribing. If you guys, you don't have to be a Man United fan. You just want to
No,
just see an old Asian,
absolutely not.
Korean, American guy just chat absolute waffle. You can hit the subscribe
And be
button.
so passionate. Like, I showed your channel to my friend Will, and
Mm.
he followed you on Instagram too. He subscribed,
Oh,
and
awesome.
he's a Liverpool fan. And he's like, I love, like, you do a lot also outside of United, so it's awesome.
I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. And we'll be back real soon. If you guys are tuning in now, this will probably drop at the new year. So wishing you all a happy new year. Be
Yes,
merry,
happy
be
New
happy,
Year.
be healthy in 2024. And we'll see you
Yes.
guys next time. Peace.